Loud. Hello and welcome to CoCreative NoCode's Office Hours, episode number 102. I'm your host, Tonya. I'm here with Kim as usual and also Thomas as usual. Thank you for being here, Thomas. If this is your first time tuning into CoCreative NoCode's Office Hours, we do this every single day of the week, Monday through Friday, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m. Pacific time, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time. And our members can bring us any bubble question they like, any bubble topic, and we will do our best to answer questions, to debug bugs, to build new features. We even do build alongs sometimes. And then we can't promise you answers, but we promise you won't suffer alone. If you would like to join us for a complimentary session of CoCreative NoCode's Office Hours, you can go ahead and comment on the live here on Facebook, or if you happen to be catching this replay on YouTube, go ahead and comment there, or you can send us an email at team@cocreativenocode.com and we'll get those details over to you so you can join us for a complimentary session. If you do happen to be watching on Facebook or YouTube, please go ahead and press that like button and please subscribe on YouTube and make sure you're getting the notification so you don't miss out on any of our content. All right, we'll go ahead and get started this evening. Thomas says he has something for us. So I should probably stop sharing, huh?
Yeah, it's not so much of a share thing. It's more of a general question.
Okay, let's do it.
So I was taking a look at what we set up last time. I guess maybe I should. Yeah, I'll just share that for context.
Sure.
1 second as I gather myself. Can you hear me well?
It's a little bit muffled because I think of the air conditioning, but it's okay. I can hear you. I can understand you.
Okay. So just a general question about upgrade the app. What? Bubble's been doing all these things to their sites that it's like, what is this? General question on the API, doing an API call. I'm trying to pull this out too. It was telling me that I have to upgrade to a plan, and I may have heard you out of context in a previous conversation that you said you had some sort of workaround. I'll have to show you specifically what I mean.
Oh, is this for a recurring workflow?
Yeah, well, this is the backend workflow that you helped me set up where a canvas is being created.
Oh, got it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so they're asking me in order to do that operation, I need to be on an upgraded plan. I was curious if you knew a workaround or if I just had to go up, if I had to upgrade. If I have to upgrade, I have to.
No, unfortunately, I don't know a workaround for that. So.
Gotcha. Okay. It's not worthy of sharing then. I got my answer. This will be my first time upgrading. So. Ooh.
All right. So, okay. Did you have anything else for this evening or no?
That'll be it.
Okay, we're going to tune into Stripe support here. I'm on live with Stripe support, trying to fix that problem we were having with Brittany the other evening where I can't seem to get a Connect account like going on the sandbox, like on the test version. And he says we're supposed to be able to, but we'll see what he says here because I showed him where I was running into problems. So he has no idea he's live right now. Poor guy. Let's see if he answers. Then let's see, what else were we going to talk about? So you could, okay, but tell me how. How can I still test Connect with this mode? Please enlighten me, Andrew.
Did you guys go live yesterday? I was looking for a video.
We did go live and we still have the video, but we had to take it down. We had a little bit of an oopsie on the live showing some sensitive information. So we pulled it down from Facebook and we're editing that part out, and then we'll upload the parts that we can show onto YouTube, and Kim will make a note and send you the link when it's uploaded. So
Sorry about
So,
that.
and it's too bad too, because what was being shown was the Algolia integration. So
Oh, nice.
it was. I am showing you that it is locked. Like I sent you a screenshot.
LOL.
Like
You funny.
complete your
You
path,
funny.
create your first live connected account here. So like I can create a connected account, but so I guess express custom standard. I guess I can do this here. Express. Oh, maybe that's what he's talking about. They changed the whole thing around.
I haven't used Stripe yet, so
Yeah, this is completely different than the way it was before. All right, so this is where I was going to go through and I was going to show Brittany. I guess I can show her here, but it still doesn't show me where my URI and everything is. Here, that's a backwards way of getting to it. So I come here. Did you see how I had to get to it? So this is really terrible. For those of you who are watching, this is really terrible UI. I'm here, I'm looking at this and I'm like, it says, add your business details to activate your account, complete your platform profile, create your first live. I don't want a live connect account. So that's fine. But like anywhere else in here, I can't see anything else. So I come here to create. So I can create an account. This is where I have to click, and it doesn't even take me into the exact settings that I'm looking for. It takes me to this, which is part. Yeah, they did a complete redesign. Yeah. So I come in here and now I can click here to go to the connect screen that I'm used to seeing, which is this one, which at the bottom has my test mode client ID for my sandbox account. So this is, this is not a live count, people. So awesome. Okay, so now I can help Brittany do that setup. We'll do that when Brittany's here so she can get the benefit of it, but we'll go through setting up the connect account, like the setup part on Stripe, and then we'll go through how to use that in the app itself. So that'll take probably a good, I don't know, for testing purposes, probably a good hour. So it'll be fun.
Just a general question here. Is Stripe the best, like, just, I guess it would be like a business to business like plugin, just the best plugin to use in regards to making transactions?
Wait, is Stripe the best one? Is that what you asked? I was just curious. Or PayPal, I don't know, like much versus about PayPal?
Yeah, I guess if that's the other competitor, sure.
So Stripe is the one that I hear about the most that people use. I know PayPal is also used very often. I'm more familiar with Stripe because I've actually been contracted to like implement Stripe on Bubble apps. So I'm used to it, but I also have played around with PayPal and it was fine. It was no problem. So it took me like, I don't know, a half hour or an hour to start processing test transactions with Stripe via Bubble. So it's not an issue either way. So I think PayPal has a worse reputation for locking people out of their accounts and their money.
That's happened to me too before, selling stuff on eBay.
Yeah.
Jesus. I was locked out for like a month once. I was like, guys,
I've known people who never got back into their accounts. So I have also heard of Stripe locking people out of their accounts, but not nearly as often and not nearly without like recourse, right? Because it feels like you can't get the help you need with PayPal. But yeah, but I like Stripe. I use Stripe for CoCreative NoCode, and it works.
I did notice that actually. Yeah, the credit card was what gave me the.
Yep. Exactly. So Yep. So cool. We got this one solved. So now I know how to do it. It's very backwards the way to do it. And I apologize, Andrew, if you're watching this someday in the future, if you happen to catch this. I apologize for just hanging up on you, but that was a pretty lame like exchange. You aren't the first person at Stripe that I've told you didn't live up to my expectations. But okay. So let's see here. What else do you want to talk about?
It's a good question. I haven't had a chance much this weekend. Like I was telling you, I was a little occupied. And I actually have my uncle in town. So I wanted to start messing around just for fun as a little side project working with Meili Search. So that's probably going to require, some actual reading through documentation.
Oh, yeah.
Meili, I don't know how to pronounce.
I think it's Meili Search.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, like that guy who posted the Meili Search thing in that main group wasn't the guy who had written the post.
Oh, okay.
So maybe I'll go and try to find that guy and see if he can come on and demonstrate setting up Meili Search. Because he seemed interested in promoting it. So
yeah. If that's like a really good alternative for Algolia, like as a business, you save a lot of money.
I found that like, other one that I was talking about the other day.
Which one?
I saw it again on Twitter, and I took a screenshot so I would remember what it was called, because of course it's Altogic. Let's look at Altogic.
Altogic. Is it a no-code tool specific?
I think a powerful backend service development and execution platform helping you easily build, deploy, and manage scalable web services. Altogic.com.
Did you read that off a script? Or did you...
I did. I was reading it off their Twitter bio thing. Yeah, no, I just make the one I made up for Bubble the other week was kind of funny.
Oh, okay. Okay. I saw another one posted by Sasa. He has like an email newsletter.
I
guess CodeMap does. He put up another backend solution called Canonic. But it's specifically meant for I remember reading it specifically meant for no code integration.
Canonic. The back to your front end.
I don't know if this is the same solution, but
we're live on Product Hunt. Canonic supercharge the back to your front end.
I didn't quite understand what they meant by that. I guess it just means like working.
It just means back end.
Yeah.
Like it just means you're no coding your front end, and they're trying to help you with your back end, I guess. So create, manage, deploy, serverless backends. What was that? Seeing what?
I was saying I'm starting to see some solutions, no code solutions pop up for these sorts of back end things.
Yeah, for sure. Canonic can do. I'll go see if we can find some people to help us do this live. Speaking of people coming on, it is official. Cameron Wilder Booth will be joining us on September 17th. That's Friday, September 17th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. He's going to be showing us all about his work connecting APIs to Bubble's API connector. And the reason I chose him is because he can remember not knowing how to do that. So he remembers a few months ago when he was first starting out and he couldn't get things working, and he was really frustrated, and he spent a lot of time just figuring it out. And so now hopefully we can learn from him and perhaps skip some of that pain. So Canonic.
So is the intent?
Oh, go ahead.
Is there I sound like a novice when I speak like this, but in regards to API connector, is there a specific thing that he's really good at?
Yeah, Google's APIs.
Oh, okay. I think you mentioned this last week.
Yeah, Google's APIs and authenticating and refreshing tokens, and the kinds of things that you need to know how to do that aren't necessarily in the documentation and drive everybody nuts. So he will be here on the 17th. I also have another special guest. I won't announce it yet until it's official, because he said he was interested in coming on, and then he kind of I don't know, flaked out on me a little bit, but we'll see. So I mean, I asked him directly. I was like, so did you want to come on and talk or not?
Yeah, it's like, come on, guy.
Come on.
Yes or no?
Yeah, yes or no. Pick a day, any day, except the 17th of September. But I mean, I guess this is like a general call to anyone who wants to show us how to do something in Bubble, right? Like, if you want to come on and talk about what you're doing and promote yourself in the meantime, if you give us something good, we're all up for that. So Altogic, why Altogic? So there's a gentleman on Twitter who is building with Altogic and Bubble right now. Let me see if I can find his name. Let's see here. Who was it? Who?
I will be right back.
I think it's
my charger.
Aaron, ERENDIKO on Twitter. Let me pull him up. So if anybody who's following along, you might want to look at what he's building. This guy. I'll follow him. So pet and date. So he's been tweeting a bit about Altogic and Bubble and how he's putting things together. So, but some of this is not in English, which is fine. But I can't read it. All right. So then let's see, what else are we going to build today? Oh, Jacob's coming on. That's cool. Hey, Jacob. How's it going? Welcome, Jacob. How are you?
Hi, good.
Good.
How about you?
Good. Did you bring something for us today?
Yes, I do actually.
All right. I will stop sharing and you can share.
Okay, awesome. All right. Okay. Here's, wait, one sec. Let me go to the right page.
Is this the same app from before?
Yeah, did I do this app? Oh yeah, I did. Yep. Hold on, I gotta move the menu.
No worries.
All right, so yeah, this is the page. I actually got it to work. It's not as slow as I thought it'd be.
Okay.
But yeah, I just, for some reason, I was apparently filtering everything. So that's what was slowing it down a lot. But now I'm using the do a search for.
Okay.
But yeah, I guess right now, the only thing is I have like 16 conditionals for each little text box on this repeating group. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's that's the first filter, that's the second, and then there's more filters. So let's see. Here's the group. So yeah, so all the costs, they show up in the first quarter. Let's try to get them to load here. All right, yeah. So just wanted to know if I can simplify this in any way. So I guess it's only yeah, there's 3 different cost types. Well, actually 4, because I can switch the budget to a forecast. But this text element has 3 different variables. So one is the time filter. So that's here. There's monthly, quarterly, yearly, and year to date. And then there's also the change display, which is, it can show this as a percent or an absolute value.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third one is this one, whether it's budget or forecast, but that also changes this number as well. So yeah. Just wanted to know if there's any way I could simplify this, because with the repeating group, there's already like 10 or 12 different filters. So how do I like consolidate all this into just one search or a couple searches?
Got it. So what, okay, so you're asking, so the input, so you're doing these in inputs, but they're not changeable. The user can't change them on the fly.
What do you mean they can't change them?
Like it's an input, but the person can't click in there and change it, right?
No.
Okay. All right. And then you're changing the initial content based on the filter.
Yeah.
So I think like I'm gonna have to think about this quite a bit, but I would make the initial content reference, a hidden variable, and then I would send information into that variable when the filters are changed.
So like having 2 inputs, you mean?
No, like making the reference of that code. So go into the appearance section of the, click where it says appearance up at the top. Nope. So in the inspector, there you go, where it says appearance next to conditional.
Oh, oops.
Yeah. That's okay. So go up. So you see how you have the initial content is blank there, right? So I think instead of putting 18 conditionals on the input, instead what I would do is I would make that initial content reference a hidden variable, and then I would change what's happening in the hidden variable. You can also replace hidden variable with custom state, but I think hidden variables are easier to manage. But I think that's how I would do that. Let me see those conditionals again.
So the first 2, yeah, these ones are just to.
No, that's fine.
The colors.
It's so monthly items forecast change. Yeah, I mean, why are there, so I'm looking at like the first 5 of 18. Keep going down the list. There is definitely a way to simplify this. Kim's asking for the keyword. Well, simplifying conditionals. Yeah, so is there you have two different kind of values for this one. You said you have the absolute value and then you have the percentage.
Yes.
Right.
So the absolute, it adds the sum of all the either forecast or budgets, but then the percent, it takes the average.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is something that's probably not going to be on the fly fixed in office hours, because it would take me time to really understand like the whole of what you're trying to do and the implications. But I would basically figure out, it sounds like you have two different formulas that work here, one to get the percentage and one to get the absolute value. And so I would set two conditionals, one for each. And then I would make the references, like the values that need to be going into that formula. I would put those somewhere else and just create like in a hidden variable that changes. And then I would create those formulas just as static formulas in the conditionals. Does that make any sense, or do you want me to kind of show you what I mean?
Yeah, so what would be the hidden variable?
So like if the formula is going to be, I want you to take I need to find all of these things and sum them up, right? So that's just the sum of something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then what it is that you're going to sum, that's the thing that's changing. The act of summing them up is not changing. So I would put the things that you're going to sum when you make that change on the filters of what it is that you're looking at. I would put that somewhere and use the same reference for each time. Here, can I share my screen? I think it'll be easier to explain if I'm. Okay.
Just also wondering, like, is there a way to do the monthly, quarter, yearly, make that a variable as well?
Well,
which I do have like a gap, like one, like an interval of like 1 or 12, like if it's monthly versus yearly, but then the other two would be kind of complicated.
Right. So that reminds me of the tally system that I did in February or March. We've talked about it a couple times, but here, I'll just call it a tally. So you have the tally and then you have buckets, right? So you're keeping track of something like last week, right? And so last week is a reference to something, and you're putting all the things that are needing to be referenced in a list in last week. And then you would do the same for last month, and then this year, and then all time. I forget what your exact buckets are, but it's something like that. And then the references to those things, as long as you don't foresee those references exceeding 10,000 in any given list, you can just you can perform operations on that list pretty easily. So that's one way of doing it. I'm assuming that's not what you did.
No.
What you're doing is you're doing a search for all of the things that match, and then you're performing the operations on them.
Yeah.
And that's what's taking so long. So how many total things do you think you'd be summing up in any of those lists? Like maximum amount?
Probably maybe 20 at most.
Yeah, so I probably would do it this way instead, right? So I'd create a new data type, right? And then I would have the search, I'd construct the workflows in your app to add things to each bucket and take things away from each bucket as needed as well. And then you can do the search and you can run your calculations without having to do a search in each field, like in each row, each record, right? So that's one thing I would do. So like, let's see if I'm tallying up, like, what do I want to do? Tally. Let's say I'm trying to keep track of my budget on DoorDash, right? DoorDash order, because I have a huge DoorDash problem. This is real life, by the way. So if I'm trying to keep track of my DoorDash expenses, then I'm going to say, okay, so total is going to be a number. And then the date, probably won't put it in the same time as it's actually happening. So I'll have to enter that manually. So, and then when I'm adding these orders up, if I want to know in my tally how many of them I had in the last week, so how much did I spend? I'm going to go to my DoorDash here, DoorDash order list. Then I'm going to have the one for last month. So like last 30 days. Go down here. This year, I don't even want to know. And then all time. Right? So now every time I enter something, enter a DoorDash order, it's going to go into all 4 of these buckets. And then I'm also going to schedule workflows to take that order out of the last week after 7 days, out of the last 30 after 30 days, and this year on New Year's Eve of this year, right? To take it out of these different lists. So now all I have to do to tally up all of my orders is I would go in here, I'd make my repeating group. My repeating group is going to be tally. I'm going to pick the first tally because I'm only going to have one. So do search for tallies. That's fine. Constrain it by the current user. And so now I have the tally. That's right. And I want to see multiple tallies. So for each user, I would be tallying it up, right? So now I'm going to make columns for each thing. So I'll have this will be current sales, tallies, owner, creator, first, last. And then this one, I want to see how much this person current sales, tallies, last week's total sum, right? And so now I can see how much this user spent in the last 7 days.
Wait, was last week a data type as well?
No, last week was a field type. So I'm going to add all. So every time I create a DoorDash order in my app to track it, I'm going to put that reference of that order into the tally here, into each of these buckets, right? And then I'm going to schedule 7 days. I'm going to remove that order from this list in the last week list. After 30 days, I'll remove it from the last 30 list. After New Year's Eve, I'll remove it from this year list, and I'll never remove it from the all-time list. And that way, when I'm in this design here, like this page here, I can say, okay, I want to know the last 30 total sum. And then I want to know this year's total sum. And then I can add the all-time total sum. And all Bubble's having to do is a little bit of math, right? So all-time. And so now I can just look at, it runs this search. It's already got the search data here because it's all tallies. So all it's doing is looking at the total sum of these things. This works up to 10,000 things in a reference list.
Okay.
So it might not work for me this year. Like I might break my own app by the end of the year by ordering too much DoorDash. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to think.
Yeah. So if I go in and so like what this means is when you have let me put the input to create the DoorDash order. So here is going to be the amount, and then I'll need a button. Button's going to say add. This is going to be integer. The add button is going to be here. Okay, no problem. I'm going to go ahead and create a new thing. It's going to be a DoorDash order. I'm going to set the total to the inputs value. I'm going to set the date to current date and time just because at the moment. Then from here, I need to make changes to a thing. Either create a new thing or make changes to a thing. We're going to make changes to a thing because you would create the tally when the user is created, right? So I'd go do a search for tally owned by, not created, date, created by current user. So we're going to make a change to that, the first item, and then we're going to add this thing to each of the buckets, right? So we'll add all fields, add result, add result. Then we're going to kick off a backend workflow. So we'll come here to backend workflow and we'll say remove last week. And the action will be make changes to a thing. The thing is going to be the tally, which will be of type tally. So we'll change the tally and we'll take the thing from last week and we're going to remove the DoorDash order.
Wait, so the tally is keeping track of?
The tally is keeping track of those buckets of time, right? So you have a last week bucket of all the orders made in the last week. So after 7 days, after you create the order, you have to remove it from the last week bucket. Right?
Oh, so you're adding, so like you can have a list of orders and a bucket for that would be like, say, the month.
Exactly.
All the orders in that month.
Right.
Oh, yeah, we would go probably past, well, actually, yeah, we might.
You like had 5 buckets, I thought.
What?
Like on your app that you showed earlier, you had, I think it was like 5 different buckets of time that you were looking back over.
Oh yeah, there's 4 different periods.
4 periods, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just talking, so what I'm talking about here is not necessarily simplifying your conditionals on like in that repeating group. One way to do that is you could just have a different repeating group for each and just show a different repeating group for each of your main filters or something like that. What I'm talking about is how to make it faster. Like the search itself would be faster this way.
Oh, so like you're saying categorize, like put costs into a bucket, like one called yearly. That would be all the costs for that year. For that
so
company.
I don't know if your cost is separated out into a data type, but what I know is you're tallying a certain field from a thing in the data type, right? So in your buckets, I would keep track of all of those data type wherever you're finding it. And then I would perform the operations on the fields on that thing in that list.
Oh, got it. I think the problem with that though is because we're importing like a bunch of data. So so then we would need to create or we would have to run a bunch of API workflows in order for the buckets to.
So the information is coming in from an external API?
No, I'm just like manually uploading everything.
Okay. So when you say manually uploading, you're like using CSV or you're doing data entry?
CSV.
CSV. Okay. Well, I mean, you can put these like this stuff. What I had to do for the app that I'm referring to, they had 1,200 something users, and I needed to go back and create a tally for each of those users. So like that was the first thing that I had to do. That one was rather tricky because I had to do it. I ended up having to run that workflow every day for a month or whatever to avoid having to spend more time. But that was just a time issue on my part. I was like, I had to get it done in a day. And the only way to do that was to forego the more complex work that I would have had to have done to run everything all at once. So, but you could create, I mean, you can create workflows to do that, or you can do it the way that you're doing. If it's working, it's just, that is, I would say that you're asking a lot of Bubble. Then the other thing I would maybe recommend, if you have like that much that you're needing to manipulate just to make it work with Bubble's backend, is maybe consider a different backend solution like we were talking about earlier. I haven't played with either one of these, but Altogic might be one. Canonic might be one. Backendless and Zano, I think it's called, are both Zano, something like that. Both of those
I
might
wonder which one is
work.
the easiest to implement, and obviously good.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can poll Twitter. Say, hey, Twitter. Question from office hours. That could be a new theme on Twitter.
Yeah, let's do it. Eli, though, he said it was pretty user friendly.
He said Backendless was.
Yeah,
he's been working in Xano with no problem and liked it.
Really?
But he really likes Backendless too. So he just said it's not for beginners.
How many records?
How many records is he working with Eli planning for in Backendless?
Yeah.
Like 3 million or more.
Oh, 3 million? Okay.
And it's like working speedily? Has he gotten any results yet, or still setting
up? So he's set up the database structure, and now I'm tasked with scoping the first 2 weeks of work, and I'm just waiting on the higher level scope to come down from the PD before I do that. So that project is dragging on a little bit. Sorry about that.
Okay, that's good news though that he's working with 3 million records.
In
Because
Backendless. Yeah, not in data, not in
damn.
Bubble, but in Backendless.
yeah, the client said we'll probably need like 1 million records. So
multiply that by 10. Clients are the worst. No, they're the best, really, but they underestimate a lot.
I was telling my uncle, because I was doing a paint job, and he's just one of the sorts of people that he just wants everything done quick. I was like, it's really easy to do a job when you don't do it.
When you don't do it well, is that what you said?
No, I was just saying it's really easy. Like when an outsider who doesn't do a job, like a client wants you to get something done, they want you to do it speedily. I say it's easy to get something done when you've never done it.
Yeah, when you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly.
Or don't care. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's true.
It's true. So Eli, he's using Backendless, you said.
Yeah, so he's just started testing out Backendless and actually built out a database infrastructure on Backendless for an app that we're working on together. And that app, we're preparing for it to handle like 3 million or so records to start, because there's going to be a big data upload of about 2.3 million.
Oh dang.
So yeah, so like the records have already, I mean, like the records that are being uploaded are very, very old records. Like these are records from, what I mean is they're representing things that are very old and have been tracked for generations. So there are a lot of them. So
dang. So then how sorry.
No, go ahead, man. You got it.
Yeah, so then like for conditionals for that, would the conditionals be in Bubble still, or would they be in Backendless?
So the reason that we were doing Backendless is because one of the things you can do with Backendless is you can create basically a virtual data type. So you know how in Bubble you have to cross-reference and link data types to do your searches for your repeating groups and have it be as fast as possible?
Yeah.
With Backendless, you can take any of your data types that you create, you can link to other data types and have the records have like a one-to-one relationship, right? And you can do that with many different data types. You can link them all up together. Any of the linked data types that you have, you can take a column from each one or multiple columns from each one and combine them to make a virtual data type called a view. And each view has its own API. So you can make the calls to get the exact information that you want from an exact API that you've created and pull that into Bubble instead. And don't have to, and then the other brilliant thing that I'll tack on there is a field in Backendless can be formulaic, meaning you can set it as a formula. The type of data will be a formula. So we'll take and do all of those calculations for you, right? And you can create that in a view, and then you just pull that information and just represent it. And so for your different filters, you would just create a different view for all of your filters and then query that. When they switch it, you just query that and pull the information fresh.
So you could like merge, like, let's say I have a monthly for my time, and then like a percentage for the I guess the view type. So then I can merge the percentage and the monthly together, and then that would be 2 API calls or 1 API call, or how would that be?
I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, you would reduce the number of things that you're having to accommodate, right? Because you'd just be pulling in the value from that data table.
So this would make it so that there's less conditionals.
Yes.
Oh.
And it would be faster.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah. So then did you guys build already in Bubble? And then you're
We've just,
switching to
no,
this?
we haven't even started building in Bubble. This one is being done from scratch with the back end and Backendless and the front end in Bubble.
Mm-hmm. So then do you think there's going to be like, well, actually, I don't think there will be problems because we have everything in CSVs. We could just probably upload it to Backendless.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
So that might be a solution. It's very tricky, like planning the database in Bubble, because Bubble has some limitations that other solutions do not. One of the most important being those formulas. Like if Bubble came out tomorrow and said that they were going to have formulas as a content type in their fields, they would make so many people so happy. Because you think about it, like, I mean, another no-code platform is Airtable. And you've got an Airtable. If I wanted to recreate my Airtable in Bubble without referencing Airtable, this kind of thing, this all would have to be done on the page or stored as a number value, right? And if I wanted to change it, then I'd have to change it, make the calculation and store a different value in here. I couldn't just set it to be, this is my formula for this field. So that's why.
Oh, okay. So then I guess Bubble, their main problem is that they can't handle the volume of records, or it's just like the way of displaying the information with the different options.
It's more like
combined.
your access to the information. There's a barrier. There's like an extra, it seems to me, or it feels like to me, now I'm not technical in understanding how all of these things are put together in general, right? That's the beauty of no code, is I don't have to. But it feels like there's an information barrier between data types that you have in Bubble, that you still have some of those in Airtable. I ran into plenty of them in Airtable when I was working in Airtable, but like you don't seem to have in Backendless. And then Backendless is the only one that I've really looked into myself. But I've heard that Altogic is pretty cool. Canonic is pretty cool. That was Thomas who brought that up earlier. And then one more would be, I think it's Xano. Yeah.
Okay.
They should have in parentheses, this is how you pronounce it.
I'm looking at Xano too. I'm looking at their pricing. It says that for $199 USD per month, you get 50 gigabytes of storage, but you only get 1 million records per workspace.
Yeah,
so
that's not so
a bit
much.
more limited, relative to.
Well, even with Backendless, I think over 400,000, we had to go into their like dedicated plan.
Oh, you had to go all the way to the highest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And then here we've got requests per day unlimited. So they're talking about how many requests you're making. Oh, because this is Canonic is the virtual one. It's a server, not virtual, it's serverless, whatever that means.
What does that mean?
I don't know. We should ask them.
Oh, okay. Like running on a virtual machine or something?
Altogic. What's Altogic mean? It's free.
489. 100 gigabytes.
You can, but look at that. Altogic, you can make 5 million requests for 489.
Damn. Is that like as good as Backendless in regards to pricing?
Backendless Pricing.
For the dedicated plan, I haven't seen their. Yeah, I wonder what it's like for max amount, max count.
Yeah.
I'm sure that just depends. Look at the responsiveness on this thing, though. Look at the design. I'm looking at the design. I'm like, why is two bunched in one and one separate? But medium.
What do you mean? I don't know what you're looking at.
I'm looking at the cards that start for free, limitless, and fully managed. I'm looking at the design. I'm looking at why one is separated and the two are combined.
Oh, that's yeah.
Yeah, it just got me.
Gotcha. This is why you're better at design, because I didn't even notice that. You hadn't pointed out to me. Did you have any other questions? Was that helpful, Jacob?
Yeah, so it sounds like I for sure have to switch the databases and everything so that it's just API calls for everything.
Yeah, that will probably make your whole experience a lot better. And it'll make it so much easier when they ask you to update things. Right?
Yeah. So then what kind of optimizations do you have for, I guess, like making things scale? Like, do you try to use like less fields or just like less text, or like what do you do like when people ask for that?
For scaling the app, for scaling for what?
I guess
like more
just
users?
the databases.
Scaling the database?
Yeah.
So the way you think about it is, okay, like I'll give you an example. We built an app and it worked, but it broke with one user, which means it didn't really work, right? And so I was like, okay, I had these grand plans for how we were going to create all of these copies of things or whatever. And then the developer did exactly what I scoped out. And then it was taking, 3 to 5 minutes to make a copy of something. And that's not really scalable, right? Because users get tired. They after 10 seconds, right? And so I had to think about it. It's like, how am I going to make this user's experience as swift as possible so it feels like an instantaneous response, even though we're reaching Bubble's limitations in terms of creating a whole bunch of things really fast, right? Because we had to, create 700 things in the database to accommodate this.
For one change.
For creating this new template, right? Which was just a copy of 700 things, but it was still 700 things. Yeah. So, and Bubble's not that fast, right? So you have to think around it, right? You have to think, okay, so I'm going to have to do something so that the user doesn't know that it takes this long to create it. What we decided to do is, since all of the copies were exactly the same, the only thing that was going to be changed were the references to the who owns what, right? Is we made copies ahead of time and stored an inventory of things that all we had to do was switch the owner's name on it. So when they clicked the button, the very first thing that happened is said, okay, this template that was sitting in storage now belongs to this user. So it will show up on the page immediately because it's already been created. And then we'll show them an indicator of updating the records just to tell them what we're still working on and what's been done. Right?
Yeah.
But to the user, that's like, oh, that feels like that was instantaneous. That was great. Right. But for Bubble, it's like, okay, now we may have to make these changes, which take 20 or 30 seconds. And we gave the user something to do in the meantime. So they're not even paying attention to that 20 seconds. And then at the end of it, we tell them that we're done and we make a new one for the inventory. But the user doesn't have to know that at all.
Oh, so for that one's more like for an illusion of responsiveness. Like that's how
That's scalability though, right? Because what it is saying that, okay, we gave the admin the ability to control how many things they're storing, like how many copies of that they're storing. And that has a direct impact in terms of scaling, because how many users can you have at once doing something, right? And now you can accommodate multiple users using the app with no problem, whereas before even one user could technically have broken the app. Right. So when you're talking about scalability, you're talking about, okay, how many users can I have loading these pages without breaking the app? Or how quick can I get this to work on the page, right? Like what's the fastest possible? And then how much capacity do I need to buy in order to make it so that 100 people could do that at the same time?
When do you know like whether you're having like optimization problems, like scalability optimization problems versus upgrading straight away to a like higher capacity?
Well, fortunately, Bubble makes that really pretty simple, is you can go into your settings here and you can boost your capacity. And when you boost your capacity, you can see if it makes a difference, if it makes your app faster or not. Right? And inefficient workflows generally won't improve when you boost capacity, but efficient workflows would.
Okay.
The other way you can look is you can check your server logs. So something I do quite often, especially when I'm doing like backend workflows, recursive workflows, is I'll check to make sure that my spikes in the server logs are more like little hills that never go above 10 or 20. Right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you think if I'm taking up 10 with one user doing a recursive workflow, what's going to happen if I have 2 users? It's going to go up, and I'll probably go up a little bit more, and so on, right? So I'm thinking, like if it's an app admin workflow, I want it to stay at like that 10 because I want to leave a lot of capacity for other users who might need to use the app. If it's an actual user, 10 might be too much. Because if I have 2 or 3 users, they'll start to notice, like it'll start to impact their performance at some point.
Oh, dang. Okay.
And you have to think for your particular app that you were showing us, like with those repeating groups, the fact that you have searches happening in each, like when you're doing searches in each row, you're doing however many rows there are, that many searches on the page. Like that's a lot. It's a lot for Bubble to do.
So then you think instead I should change, because like one of the inputs, it's based off of like a calculation of 2 other fields. So that you think it would be faster if I switched that that field to just calculating instead of searching. Oh, really? Okay. I didn't know which one would be faster.
Yep.
But normally, like if it's just a calculation, like X divided by Y, that's faster than like doing a search.
Yeah, if you already have the information. Now, if you're doing the same search for the same thing multiple times on the page, that doesn't really matter to Bubble because it'll consolidate it to just the one. But if you're doing searches for different things, because each of those rows represent a different thing and a different search that you're looking for things in the database, then it starts to, it counts up, it adds up. And then anytime you can do away with a search and instead use information that's you already have available on the page, that's going to be faster. And then the other thing that you need to know when you're building an app like the one that you have is you're using sample data probably, right? And you need to actually understand how many things are going to go into that list. Like what a real user experience maxing out the system would actually be asking of the system. Because I've had it several times now where we just totally underestimate how much of something is going to be in a repeating group or in a list. And we're just like, it breaks out of the gate and the customer says, I thought this was working. And it's like, well, it's working. What's going on? And then you go and you look, and instead of searching for 500 things, it's searching for 13,000 things. And there's a big difference in terms of how Bubble's going to perform when you're trying to display, like 25 to 50 things in a repeating group on the page versus 1,000 versus 20,000. Like you start breaking things the more data you're trying to manage and show.
So then we should, because originally I wanted to like paginate things, but then the client wanted scroll bars. So then like getting rid of the
tell your client, go on to this. I got this from, I don't know if it's Peter or Petter, but from Meili Solutions, right? He wrote the guide to the ultimate guide to Bubble performance. And he even says, he was like, Gmail is a perfect example. When you go into Gmail, they only show you 50 at a time.
Yeah.
Right. And they do that for a reason, because of silly people like me who have God knows how many emails, 3,423. So that's why they do that. Because imagine if I went to Gmail and I had 3,400 and however many, and it had to load on the page, and then I'd have to that would be crazy.
Like too many elements.
Right.
Okay. So then I just want to share my screen real quick again. Sure. Just real fast. So then like for this field, the change, so this one, it's better because right now this is all doing a search for costs. These are just different fields of the cost. Okay. So then are you saying that it's still the same search because it's searching for the same cost, even though it's different fields?
Yes.
Oh, so it doesn't really matter.
Not across if you're doing the same search to find the same thing, but generally in repeating groups, that's true. But each line is doing a different search for a different thing. Right? So you have 552 items. Is that true?
For this one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not
552 rows.
Right. And each one is doing a search for a different thing, right?
Yeah. So this is one that input. So it's searching for the same things, just it's just taking a different field. So like this would be the same search as that, except it's just a different field of that thing.
So, and then can you go to the server logs and see how that's affecting things?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's a lot.
What's crazy? Which one?
The CPU.
This?
Yeah. So you aren't hitting are you on a high plan?
I think we're on the 129 a month.
That's not too bad. So go back to the logs. So you're not hitting your maximum capacity. So your first graph there looks fine. And then the page views and workflow runs are also fine. And they match, your workflow runs match your CPU usage. So, and those are workflows, not searches. So I think that's fine, but you might want to stress test it. And
stress test which one?
So just stress test the data, like what you're displaying and how fast you can get a display and what it's like when a couple different users are doing things at the same time.
So this is too much for one user?
Yeah, because if one user can take up 80% of your CPU, I would say that's a lot.
Oh shoot! So then, what do I need to do for this one?
Well, I'm wondering if that has to do with all of the searches you're performing. So, yeah, just see if what happens when you have two people doing different page loads and things and asking Bubble to do things like search all of those records for those amounts and doing those calculations.
So then for something like this, it wouldn't matter if I'm just dividing these two to get this input?
No, I don't think so. I think you're worried more about the fact that you're having to do that on each row. Right. Do you what?
What was the last thing you said? Like doing what on each row?
You're doing all of that work that you have, the search, like the fact that you're not referencing the original search that produces the repeating group. You're doing that on each row, right?
Yeah.
You're doing a different search than what is being produced for the repeating group. Right? My understanding is you don't want to do multiple searches in a repeating group. On each row, you're doing a search, and that takes a lot of processing power. That's asking a lot of Bubble, because it's not just doing the search to produce the repeating group. It's having to do searches on each line of your repeating group. And you have 552 items, which means it's trying to do all of that work to load that table. And if you only have one user for 129 per month, and they're going to load that or whatever, and they're only going to load it once, and not switch to a different view and load something else or whatever, maybe that's okay. But you're getting pretty high into your CPU usage against your capacity. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that before. So, I mean, I can go and check against other things. I can't do it right now because my mom's visiting. So I actually have to wrap up office hours pretty soon, but I can just take like a quick survey of the apps that I manage and let you know if I see anything close to that. But I've never seen anything quite like that. Usually I'll see a little bit of a spike in CPU usage if I'm doing recursive workflows or something like that, something pretty intensive. But like if you're just loading these pages, that's a lot. Maybe somebody has a different opinion and they can chime in, but I think that's a lot.
Yeah. Do you think I could you send me Eli's contact information? Like to chat with him
Eli,
too?
you can find him you can tweet at him. So yeah, he works full-time for AirDev, and then he does side projects on his own or whatever, but he's Eli here. I can show, he's been on our office hours before. I can invite him back too. So it's Eli Beachy at Eli Beachy. So
how do I spell it?
Yep, like going to the beach, but with a Y at the end. No. Yeah, there you go. Eli Beachy on Twitter. You can tweet at him and ask him a question for sure.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. But way to go getting a lot of information on the page. Because I'm terrified of trying to like even design something like that.
The most annoying part is all the conditionals, and like when I have to change one field for all of these searches, it takes
That's
forever.
It does. I did that once. I feel your pain. But.
Oh yeah, these guys, they got seed funded too.
They got what?
They got seed funded.
Oh, that's cool. Well, that's good.
But I don't know. I'm kind of nervous. But
yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Thank you so much, Tonya. I really appreciate it.
Of course. My pleasure. Thank you for being here. And thank you also, Thomas, for being here. And Kim. Yeah. Awesome. Did you have anything else before we wrap it up, Thomas? Nope.
That'll be it.
All right. Well, we will be back here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time. You can join us if you like for a complimentary session of CoCreative NoCode's office hours. Just go ahead and comment on the Facebook Live or on the YouTube video, or you can send us an email to team@CoCreativeNoCode.com. Again, we'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. And I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, guys.
Bye.